Leon Stavronakis says the performance yesterday was abysmal, but I'm still a bit puzzled at all the venom being thrown Carlo Ancelotti's way. He was handed the same team that struggled last year and has been struggling for years. He was given one addition, a teenage midfielder. This team is not equipped to compete at a high level. Certainly the approach is worthy of criticism, but to suggest Carlo deserves to be fired, as many have done so, seems absurd. Have people forgotten that this same core group, their poor performances in so many La Liga games in the past 3 to 4 years? Have they forgotten that embarrassing second leg against Ajax at the Bernabeu? Have they forgotten the complete meltdown against Manchester City, the two-leg dominance of Chelsea? These embarrassing performances have been going on for years, and for various reasons, sufficient change has not happened yet. Threatening Carlo's job under all of these circumstances seems absurd to me. What are your thoughts on this?
I would agree with Leon when he says that Carlo is not to blame. The one to blame should be the one who appointed Ancelotti, in my opinion. I've been vocal about it on Twitter after the loss. I think that Ancelotti was pretty much thrown under the bus with this team he was given. I think that Real Madrid didn't complete a quality or a solid or exciting season last year, and the only addition they brought to the team after pretty much destroying their backline of Ramos and Varane, even though that turned out to be a good decision because Militao and Alaba have been good so far, was to add 18-year-old Camavinga, who has barely played after his first few games where he was brilliant. So it seems to me that Ancelotti has obviously survived and built this lead Real Madrid have in La Liga by pretty much the Vinicius miracle, as I call it, because nobody expected Vinicius to be this good during the first half of the season. And I think that as soon as Vinicius has lost some of that magic, some of that touch, and also some of his legs and his freshness, the team has clearly struggled in 2022. Real Madrid have only won 2 games out of 6 games in 2022. So I think that it's not Ancelotti's problem, but Real Madrid have built this lead in La Liga because La Liga is not a quality product or an elite competition right now in terms of the level of its team. So as soon as the Spanish teams go outside of La Liga and face European quality teams like the ones Real Madrid have faced in PSG, or like the one Barcelona faced in the group stage, or Atletico and all that, they are all struggling because of the physicality and the intensity these teams used to play with. And I think that Real Madrid as Leon mentions, Real Madrid are not equipped to play in a modern style of football in 2022, and I don't think Ancelotti is actually a coach to implement that kind of a style either. I think the mistake was hiring Ancelotti in the first place. I think it's fair to say and point out that Ancelotti's career was trending in the wrong direction when Real Madrid signed him. I think that he probably shouldn't have been considered as a coach for Real Madrid this season. And no matter what he won in the past, I get it. Ancelotti has been brilliant in the past for Real Madrid. I love the man. I love the person. He's as I said on Twitter, he's one of the nicest guys I've worked with in press conferences and all. But again, I don't think he has what it takes to coach at an elite level in 2022, at least in the Champions League. So I think it's not Ancelotti's. We shouldn't blame Ancelotti, but the one who thought that Ancelotti was the right man for the job.
That's probably all true. I would say so first of all, I don't think we were too harsh on Carlos, my personal opinion. I think the criticism was very fair. I think it's true almost every individual player was bad against PSG. I think the tactics were just set up for us to die. It was like sending out an army into a fire pit and expecting them to fight and survive. The way we were set up was terrible. I also think when we say, well, look at this same squad failing even before Carlo. Chelsea, Manchester City, Ajax. But that I would actually use that as a case against Carlo because he's seen what has happened in those last Champions League exits, and he's chosen to replicate it. He's chosen
Hmm.
to roll with the same midfield that got absolutely destroyed in those games, and decided not to change it. And look, like this PSG first leg, Manchester City, Chelsea, Ajax, I suppose in a way was a different circumstance because Solari had his own ideas that got ripped apart. But even, he wasn't good too. And he also, one of his sticking points was that he was playing too defensive. The only thing he had going for him is maybe some of his player selections were a little bit at least interesting and fresh. Um, but Carlo has looked at all these things and decided to go with it again. Now, I would say, like, I'm not going to call for him to be fired after this. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt that let's see what happens at the end of the season. Because I don't think he's stubborn to the point where he'll never change his ideas. Because if that was true, he would have kept pressing and kept getting his press broken early on. But he decided, like, okay, maybe this isn't working. Let's try something different. Now he has the responsibility to look at that first leg and try something different. Because if he does the same thing as the first leg and decides to do basically the same thing but with Camavinga as the six, he's screwed. There's no way he's escaping that. But now he has a chance to rectify what he did. And I would argue, like, part of the reason why the change mid-season work where he went from aggressive pressing to playing defensive, well, one, it wasn't scouted. So the first game against Shakhtar, De Zerbi had no idea that was going to happen. He was shocked. They got blown away. They didn't know what the answer was. And now over time, the scouting report's gone out. You look at the last 4 games, we've scored 1 goal in the last 4 games.
Yeah.
And I think now everyone knows, like, okay, so to stop Real Madrid, we basically just need to make sure Vinicius is stopped in transition. So we throw bodies and coverage his way. We frustrate him. And Pochettino took it one step farther and was genius. And actually, Vinicius just didn't get the ball. They cut off the supply. The press was so good that they didn't even allow Modric and Kroos to get on the ball to hit Vinicius on any meaningful break. So the scouting report's out to me. So now he has the obligation to come out in the second leg and try something fresh and different and probably control the game more. That's kind of how I feel. So I'm not going to call for him sack, but he has to take advantage of this.
Yeah, he will. He has no choice. I mean, he can. I don't think it's realistic to expect him to throw Camavinga to the fire right there. I think it's pretty clear to me that he will play cross deep with Valverde and Modric as central midfielders and hope that Real Madrid can turn things around. I'm pretty hopeless, to be honest, after what happened the other day, but we'll have to wait and see if PSG maybe get a little bit scared and a little bit frightened if Real Madrid start the game on a right note. But again, he has no choice but to change things. But again, I think that it'll be very, very, very tough for Real Madrid to go through against PSG with the kind of players they have. To be honest, I think PSG just physically that Real are pretty much don't have the bodies to compete against PSG physicality. To be honest, I take a look at every position, and Real Madrid are the inferior team on a physical level, and I think it's so important.
Isn't that because of who Carlo chooses, though?
I don't think so. I mean, do you think there's someone on the bench you can actually throw? Well, Valverde is the obvious one, but other than that, I think that Real Madrid are outmatched on a physical level in every single position. I mean, Vinicius lost every single duel against Achraf and even against Marquinhos, and Vinicius is pretty much our biggest physical presence, at least on offense, other than Valverde and maybe Camavinga. But Vinicius likes to go past and dribble past opponents just because of his impressive physical skills. And he couldn't do that against PSG, maybe also because obviously he's a little bit fatigued at this point of the season. But what I saw the other day from PSG was a complete superiority in terms of a physical level and a physical standpoint. So I just don't think Real Madrid have the bodies to compete on that level.
Well, I think Vinicius was really bad against PSG, and I was really disappointed. But I would also say, like, and I mean, Achraf is great. I mean, we can't sing his praises enough. He's so good, and
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
physical aspect as well, like you mentioned, he's a beast. But look at the space that was behind Atraf, and the fact that we didn't take advantage of that, and Vinicius didn't
Hmm.
take advantage of it. But I just don't think we put them in a position to be able to do that. So
That's
let's
right.
hold that thought, because the next two questions actually tie into this conversation, and we can expand it a
All right.
little bit more. Anirudh Singh says, "Hey guys, great job with the post-game podcast. It must have been a difficult one to do considering the tectonic emotional toll of that performance. Do you think we're letting Vinicius off the hook for that performance? The match was a specimen of particularly poor decision making from him. It's it's one thing to rely on an extraordinary dribbling ability, but it shouldn't give him the license to overlook passing options and lose possession with over-ambitious efforts. PSG put a massive roadblock on the left side with as many as 3 players pouncing on Vinicius. Was it prudent to try and get past them every time unsuccessfully, and not just recycling possession so that the team can have some possession to maybe utilize the underloads on the right?"
Interesting. I don't think it's fair to criticize Vinicius for the performance. I think that he, first of all, that he's tired after this season, and I think that he's given Real Madrid so much, and that he's rescued Real Madrid so many times this season. Also Benzema, that I think Real Madrid would be closer to what Barcelona or Atletico de Madrid have done so far this season if it weren't for Vinicius's improvement in pretty much every single aspect of the game. So I think it's pretty unfair to criticize Vinicius for or to blame Vinicius for Real Madrid's struggles during the game. Although I obviously realize that it wasn't a good performance from him by any means. That we all expect more from him in big games against huge opposition. I realize that, but I don't think it's fair for us to blame him after what he's done this season. Again, I'm not talking about obviously every single player in this team has contributed so many times in the past to so many trophies, but I'm talking about just a few months back. I mean, Vinicius has won many games for Real Madrid this season pretty much by himself. He's carried this team to victory. So I'm not ready to throw him under the bus. Although again, I would agree definitely that he obviously wasn't good by any means. And maybe we can talk about his the mentality aspect of his game a little bit later. But what do you think about this first part?
Well, I don't. So the PSG game was so weird to me in that everyone looked so scared, and Vinicius is someone who can usually get past these things. But I've given Vinicius the benefit of the doubt. A lot of these points that are made in this paragraph by Anirudh are good points, but if you look at it like the fact that he's taking players on and being overambitious, I would argue that we actually needed more of that, because what's the alternative?
Absolutely,
Because
absolutely.
when he gets the ball, he looks up and there's nothing there to work with. So he has to try to cook like 3 players. That's not his fault. And it's not like these players that the Real players that are unmarked are reachable in that moment. So he has to kind of drop his shoulder, try to find some space, create some space. I'm certainly like, with all due respect to Marco Asensio, I'm not like, he's basically Vinicius has to like take over this game. Because what are we getting from Asensio on the opposite wing? Nothing. I think the solution. Look, I actually think that we're still in this tie. I know it seems crazy to say, and it's almost, I think it's almost like the tone of everything that all of the media, Real Madrid fan base, us included, have been saying is that it almost implies that this is over. Like, you know what I mean? I actually feel like we're really in this tie still, but we have to get this right. I think if you
PSG in transition, Kian, for 90 minutes.
PSG this season haven't been impressive. They rose to the occasion
Yeah,
against us, and I think we underestimated them. We got our tactics wrong. We were too shy. We put our tails between our legs.
They will be so comfortable in transition on the second leg, I think.
Well,
I mean, like that's the dream scenario for them, I guess.
I'd rather lose that way, to be quite honest. And now,
yeah, but it can be a bloodbath, though.
I think it'll be more of a bloodbath if we continue this. We look like I've seen a lot of people say, like, look, you know, I know it was bad, but it took a 89th minute goal from Mbappe, a golazo to
and a penalty save also. But
okay,
point taken.
But that's but that's my point. Like, if we're gonna put it that way, we have to remember we actually got lucky. This shouldn't have been 1-0. It should have been 3-0, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
so I think we're gonna get cooked if we play this way anyway. And I think if
Hmm.
the problem is, and I mentioned this to Matt in the post game podcast, we didn't make them uncomfortable at all. Like, name one thing we did to
No,
make them uncomfortable.
no, 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 no. You're completely right. Yeah.
We got to make them uncomfortable. Like, Kimpembe and Marquinhos looked up and was like, okay, I can have 11 passes available to me. They basically had 100% passing accuracy. We let them do whatever the hell they want. And if the problem is you can't press because of the players, well then change the formation, make them uncomfortable, go at them a little bit, try to pin them, try to create more chance because you're not creating chances in transition because as you mentioned, Lucas, they have so much speed and youth. I mean, we talk about Ashraf.
It's
I mean,
impressive.
Mendes on the left back
Mendes, oh,
position, young, fresh,
unbelievable.
athletic,
Yeah,
so good. So if we're going to try to hit them on transition, but they're very good defending in transition, it seems. And if we can talk about like their lack of pressing, but apparently they've been conserving energy to press in when it really matters, which credit to
yeah,
them.
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
so let's count out that out the window. Let's stop the scouting reports of they don't press because they're going to clearly press when it matters. So we and I think we have to generate more opportunities by winning the ball higher up the pitch. And if you can't do that with Modric and Kroos, well, look, Casemiro's out now. Maybe you can put a fourth midfielder in and start and not only like I would go with a fourth central midfielder because I don't trust another right winger. I don't trust Marco Asensio. I've said this. I trust him maybe against Mallorca. I don't trust him against PSG when the entire season's on the line. So we're not getting much production on the right wing anyway. So why don't we go with the fourth midfielder and press and control? Take your pick. I think Fede makes sense because he can play narrow defensively. He can absorb pressure.
Yeah,
Plus, he
Fede
can
and
go out wide.
Camavinga. Yeah.
Fede and Camavinga would probably be my two options in that situation. So you go Fede, Camavinga, Kroos, and Modric. Play without a destroyer. Take your line higher up the pitch, and don't put Camavinga as your deep lying player. Put
No, no,
Camavinga
no.
closer to the box and let him break lines with his movement. Let him
Absolutely.
dribble in and around the box. Let Fede pin Mendes a bit more, and let Verratti get pinned a little bit more, so he's not running havoc in our field. I'd rather go out that way and come away like, oh shit, we lost. That was disappointing. That was heartbreaking. But I'd rather lose that way than just sit through another 90 minutes of that bullshit that I saw in Paris. So
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
there
yeah.
are
I agree with you.
solutions.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I would agree with you when you say that you don't trust Asensio, but I have conflicting thoughts because at this on the other hand, he's pretty much the only player who can create or score a goal out of nowhere, like 30 meters away from PSG, from Donnarumma. He can throw that left foot and score, and obviously that will be very valuable. But again, definitely his performance in
Can
the
Bale
first
do
leg
that?
was very worrying. Well, yeah, he at least he could. We haven't seen it in a while, but he could. He played well against Villarreal. We never had the chance to talk about it. He played well against Villarreal and didn't score because Rulli and because he had also some bad luck there. But he could contribute. I think he could contribute. I also think he can contribute more than Hazard. I think he's won the battle to for the spot to a player like Hazard, who I'm very discouraged about. So I mean I don't think that Real Madrid will not have any chance to turn things around against PSG. I just think that on the other hand, PSG will be very comfortable in transition with the likes of Mbappe and even Achraf and obviously Neymar. Having room to run to the back of Real Madrid's defenders. We'll have to wait and see, but definitely Ancelotti is forced to change his plan. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
Um, yeah, those are all interesting points. And the other thing that crossed my mind, and I don't know if anyone's talked about this. I haven't seen, probably not because people hate him, generally speaking, but like, I might sound crazy, but I don't think it's that bad of an idea to dust off the diamond in a game like this because,
Mm.
well, you look back to like as recent as, I mean, it actually was a long time ago. Maybe just
Isco has greatness. Like we can summarize what you were going to say in one sentence, and I think Isco has the it factor and the greatness factor to appear in such a game. I maybe that I would consider that alternative. If not in the starting lineup, I think off the bench would be a good option. I think Isco has that factor that he has it. Like he has this greatness factor to appear in the big stage. So I would consider that option.
well, Manchester City first leg wasn't that long ago. Isco started that game. I thought he was really good in that game. And the thing with a diamond is this is what it provides. It provides more passing outlets. It provides like Isco is the type of player who doesn't abandon the team when they need something, an outlet. Like he roams the field. He makes sure, okay, Cruz and Vinicius need someone to play off of. I'm coming over to the left side. I'll help you out. Then he'll go over to the right and like, okay, I'm going to help Fede now and make sure that he has something. And he'll circulate the ball and hold it and help control it. I think it's worth looking at.
Absolutely.
Like
he never shies away from the ball. He's not that kind of player who sees the team struggling and just hides on one corner. He definitely offers himself as an outlet every single time Real Madrid need help. I would agree with you there.
Yeah, I mean, Hazard can kind of play that role too now. He does with Belgium, but I would choose Isco because of defensive reasons too. He's better defensively. The other, I mean, but the case, like if you're going with four midfielders, the case against Isco would be like if you put Fede and Camavinga together, that gives you the more athleticism and physicality that you've been begging for in the first leg. So there's options. Again, just talking about this out loud, this just proves like the lazy way out would be to put Camavinga there and just call it a day.
Oh no.
You got to get creative with this.
So disappointing. Yeah, that would be so disappointing.
Another question that ties into this, Frederick Rantakiro says, why is Carlo Ancelotti so reluctant to play Cruz as a defensive midfielder and Camavinga as the interior? He played Cruz there in his first stint at the club, and that worked pretty well. Also, if you had either Cruz or Modric as a defensive midfielder, would Casemiro play as a box-to-box and provide an extra threat in the opposition's box in games that we are dominating but having a hard time to score?
I don't know. The short answer to the question is I don't know. I think that this should be considered an option as well. We've talked about this in the past. I think Camavinga is not comfortable as a defensive midfielder. I think Camavinga would be much better if given the chance to play as a central midfielder, as he was doing during his first few games in the club. But and again, as Frederick mentions, Ancelotti has played Kroos in that position in the past, so we just don't know. I think that maybe Ancelotti thinks Casemiro's contributions are great enough to grant him a spot as an undisputed starter, no matter the context and no matter what the team actually needs in that particular game. So that's the only reason I can think of. About Casemiro as a box to box, I'd rather see both Camavinga and Valverde in that role. I think Casemiro is not. He's obviously a tank, physically speaking. He's great on a strength level, but he's not as fast as Camavinga and Fede. So if Real Madrid were to play with a box to box, I'd rather Camavinga and Valverde rather than Casemiro, I think.
I also went back and watched, especially that first half against PSG. PSG's press was really good, obviously, but there were a few instances where we actually got the ball in the opposing half, and after that we did nothing with it. But I look back on those sequences, and they had one thing in common: it was Cruz dropping deep in between the center backs and finding solutions and finding the movement off the ball and hitting them with passes. And I think that's the only way to do it. I think and that's the biggest case for Cruz to play that deeper role, is that he's more trustworthy running it from that engine position than Casemiro is with the ball at his feet. So I agree with this. What's up, YouTube? This is Kiyan Sobani. I hope you enjoyed today's clip. In the last 2 to 3 days or so, we've uploaded over an hour's worth of content. And that's not something we normally do. I mean, we'll upload little clips here and there. Certainly not as long as the 40-minute one we uploaded on Wednesday, and this one is almost 25 minutes. I think the reason for that is because on Tuesday night against PSG, we all suffered so much. We all sat through the same thing, and we're all a big Real Madrid family. And I think we just felt like maybe this content will help everyone. Usually this is only exclusive content for patreon.com/managingmadrid. And believe it or not, even though we've uploaded a lot of content in the last 2 to 3 days, over an hour. So this one was 24 minutes. The one on Wednesday was 40 minutes. We've barely even scratched the iceberg. The entirety of these podcasts are much longer and they go much deeper, believe it or not. And they get interactive with the audience. The PSG postgame was live on Zoom, so a bunch of patrons joined us on Zoom and they interacted with us. We did a Q&A at the end, which was the Q&A itself, I think, was an hour long. So if you want access to that, you like this stuff, you like quality journalism, I think we pride ourselves on that. We try to stay away from sensationalism and drama off the field. We try to really look at tactics and analysis, and we go really deep, and we pride ourselves on that. So if you like quality journalism, you can go to patreon.com/managingmadrid. You get a ton more, and we also attend every single Real Madrid home game. We're there, we're on the ground, and we're well connected, and we are inviting you all to join our big Real Madrid family. You won't regret it. You get a ton of value, and it's only $3 a month minimum, so you can get access to everything with the $3. And we look forward to seeing you inside, and also look forward to seeing you guys in Washington, D.C. If you want help reserving your spot to see us in the nation's capital, just comment on this video, and I will make sure you have the link to book your spot. Thanks, guys. Signing off. Hala Madrid.